Yo, when I first heard that Phil Anselmo had started a black metal band called Scour, my first thought was awesome. But why though? I mean, I'll definitely take it. I'm just saying, Phil is so successful already. The Pantera tour is going on right now. Down is back in the studio. He's got all these other big things going on. So why would he want to start another band in a genre that's going to be less popular by its very nature? Well, the cool thing is I was able to schedule a quick chat with Jon Jarvis, the bass player of Scour, and he gave me a little peek behind the curtain. Let me know the how and the why this got started, how they picked the all-star members. I'm talking former guys from Cattle Decapitation, current guys from Nest and Pig Destroyer and Misery Index, and he let me know what it's like to work with Phil. So, without further ado, here's Jon from Scour. Jon from Scour, welcome to Heavy Metal Philosophy.
Thanks for having me, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great, especially listening to your new record, Gold, that just dropped today. This is being recorded Friday, February 21st. And I was pretty curious because it was a little bit surprising to me when I got the news, like, hey, Phil Anselmo's putting together a supergroup and it's going to be black metal. And I was like, well, that's cool. But that's a little surprising. Like, you know, he's obviously got his thing going on with the Pantera tour, and I believe Down's back in the studio. You know, so it's an odd choice to me to go, you know what, I want to make a black metal project.
Right. You know, and he's got to be in the right mindset or he's not going to do the black metal project. So like, as he's got in minor tracks to do, which is a great band that they're working on. And like you mentioned, Down, they're doing a new album. So he's got a lot to do. And if he's not in the mood to sing in minor, he might be in the mood one day to do some Scour. Well, luckily we can get him in the studio and get it done. But it's really, he won't do it unless he feels like it. That's the way it was from the beginning for Scour. We kind of, when we sent him the first EP, we kind of just waited patiently. And after a while I was like, do you any idea when you're going to do this? And he said, I'll do it when I feel like it. And he meant that. And I understand now that he has to feel like it. And, you know, luckily he felt like doing a Scour record.
Right on. So you said you guys sent him the EP. So did you guys start first and ask him to join, or was this a bunch of dudes talking, hey, let's do a black metal project?
Really, it started with a couple demos that me and Derek were working on, and I sent that to Phil, asking him to check it out and if he would like to sing on it, and he said yes. His reply was, "I'll kill it."
That's awesome. So, how do you recruit the rest of the guys? So, I believe you and Derek were both in Nest, so you two know each other, and then the other two band members are in Misery Index, which I absolutely love that last one, Complete Control.
Yeah, so we've known all those guys, of course, from the St. Louis scene. But the original Scour formation, when we started, we got Chase from Decrepit Birth on lead guitar, and our buddy Jesse, who's now playing in Storm Ruler, on drums. That's an old St. Louis dude that's played in Cast the Stone. He played in my Sepultura tribute band, Clenched Fist. Yes. So we've all kind of been in old bands together. And Derek and I had played in bands coming up in St. Louis that do shows together a lot. And so when we were looking for new guys, Adam and Mark were the obvious choices. They were really the obvious choices from the beginning, that it was almost too obvious. That's why we went with the other guys. Because we're like, if we got another band with, because I was already in a band with multiple bands with Adam and Mark. So it's like, do we need another band together? You know, we could mix it up. But in the end, it turned out we needed those guys anyway. So it worked out.
That's awesome. It just goes to show that there's really there's no really such thing as an unimportant band, because you're meeting people that you might work with in the future on something else.
Right. Yeah. You know, you gotta, and that's why you don't try not to burn bridges along the way, because I learned either whether you're coming up or down, and once you get to the top, there's only one way. It's back down. You know, you're going to meet the same people along the way. So if you burn the bridge on this guy, well, you're going to have to work with them in the future, whether you like it or not. Usually,
Yeah, hopefully so. So that's the how. What's the why? What made you want to do black metal? Is it just because all you other projects are like death metal and stuff? So you're like, hey, it'd
well,
be
yeah,
fun
you
to
got
do
to
black
mix it
metal.
up, man. Yeah. That's another thing. It's like different outlets, and metal has so many subgenres. I'm sure you know, but why make another agoraphobic nosebleed? Why make another,
Yeah,
and it can go down. Why make another Rage Against the Machine? It's like they're great. I don't want to try to beat them, whatever. It's how about we just do something new and that none of us really are doing? Because if we all just did another band that wanted to sound like Nest, it wouldn't make any sense. It's like you got to do something different. And so with Scour, it's for me the most extreme band. And that's like for Phil, it's an extreme outlet for him. He wants to do something more extreme. He's always got Scour there. He wants to
yeah.
chill out one morning. He can put on some in minor.
When I listen to the record, the first track hits, and it's immediate, and then I go, oh shit, this is a black metal record. Like this isn't blackened, this isn't black metal influences like the right off the jump. There's like a drum fill and then just boom, tremolo picking, screaming. It's like, oh shit, they're really going for it. Like this is absolutely an extreme record.
Right. Yeah. And we took it about as fast as we could, like humanly possible. Like we took our drummer as far as he could go. And he's like, all right, this is as fast as I can get. It's that simple. Like, if you want me to be able to play this in concert someday, you better chill out here, not faster than this. Then it's the
Awesome.
same for me. There's riffs where I'm playing where I'm like, Jesus, I can't believe I'm even playing this fast. This is fucking crazy. It's like, but once you get that adrenaline, you get into the song, kind of pumps you up a little bit. But yeah, it's extreme for sure.
It's unrelenting at times. Like the sound. One thing I noticed was that there's a very distinct sound. When you guys really go into it, it's, I mean, full on. Everybody's going at full speed, and then maybe a verse comes to kind of give it some dynamic that slows it down for a little bit, but then it comes right back in. And outside of those two like horror movie synth interludes that just gives the listener a break for a second, all the other songs are like full on. I was quite surprised. It's like, wow, they really. This isn't some like, oh, Phil's gonna do a black metal project. Like, no, Phil's doing a black metal project.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of filler in there either. It's just like you
No,
said, it's just we don't really give you a lot of time to breathe. And if Infusorium is probably the slowest one, and there's during the blast, I mean, it's super fast. So if that's as slow as we're getting, it's pretty crazy.
yeah, I was waiting for like that trademark Southern drawl, and it never comes. It's just full on the whole time.
Yeah, man, and his vocals are great on it, and the way he was layering a lot of them was something new to me that I've never done through the process because I was using Pro Tools for the first time, and so Phil luckily was being patient and helping me out along the way, like, hey, do it this way, hey, he'd give me time if we didn't know half the time I didn't know what the hell was going on, so he'd go chill and smoke or something and give me time to Google it or call somebody and get some advice. And so luckily he was very patient with me learning along the way, but I was learning from him different vocal techniques and layering and stuff that he used to do back in the day that he learned during tracking like Great Southern Trendkill type era vocal pattern and layers and just really cool stuff. And I said one day, I was like, where did you learn to do that? And he said, I learned it from Ozzy. And I said, wow, man, I can't believe this.
That's cool because um, that's if you just describe that with words, it would sound like a lot of singing, but there's not really any singing going on here. It's fries and growls and one or two like spoken word, but still
Yeah.
layered up.
Yeah, man. He's still got it, man, and he sounds great. And it's great when I get on the comments on YouTube and stuff, and people are saying, he's using effects. That's not his real voice and stuff. And I know it's his real voice because I tracked it, And he didn't do it piece by piece either. He would do the whole song all at once and then be like, all right, give me another track. And then he'd tell me where to go and he would pop, and then we'd sing, over the parts and he'd be like, all right, give me another track. And then he'd do it again. I'm like, what? Another, let's do it. How many more do you want? He's like, should I do another? And I'm always like, yes, you should. If you feel like it, let's do it. We could always delete it,
Yeah.
if it sucks.
Did you layer the guitars that way too? Because the guitars sound huge.
I'm pretty sure they did like a center, left, and right. I know Derek tracked it a few, 3 different times. So, and then of course Mark came in and did solos over the top and stuff. So yeah, they were definitely three. I think layered 3 times.
I would describe the sound as sort of stripped down and straightforward. There's not like a lot of like guitar harmonies and effects, but it does sound really big.
Yeah, it's kind of short and sweet. A lot of the songs, but also they got to have some epicness to them. I mean, that's kind of what black metal's about, I think.
Yeah. So there's a couple of patterns that I noticed, which makes me wonder if there was like a before you guys started working, if there was like a plan, like this is what we want to do. This is my vision. So there's two things. Every release is a color. You've got gray, red, black, and now this first full length is called gold. And then every song title on all your releases, including the Bathory cover, is just one word. No 2-word, 3-word song titles. Every song title is one word. Is that like we're doing it this way?
Pretty much, we're keeping it short and sweet, and even with we don't want a paragraph long song title. Everything's straight to the point. With this band. And the same with this album titles and even the artwork. You notice we just switch out the color. We don't need some epic artwork to kind of tie in or to we are who we are. We're about, I mean, it's the image is second to me at least, but it's the EPs definitely. Once people started calling the first one the gray EP, we're like, all right, we're gonna all 3 EPs. Well, we're gonna color code them. And I didn't know if Phil wanted to change it up for the first full length, but we started calling it gold, and he was like, "Is that what this one is?" And we're kind of like, "Well, that's the working title for now." And then we just kept with it. Kate once said, "Go for the gold," and I was like, "Oh, that's just great. We're gonna go for the gold on this one." And it just stuck. Now it's the gold album.
That's cool. And definitely, I think that straight to the punch sort of approach really works because now that we've got a full length, you've got more than an EP to listen to. I can listen to the whole record. And like I said, there's only 2 short interludes that aren't just blasting the whole time, but I can listen to the whole record without fatigue because each song is like get to the point, hit it hard. Now the point's been made. Now let's do the next one.
Right. Yeah. And that, there's a lot of bands that do the opposite, and that's fine too. Let them do that. But it's really the way I like it because, not only for short attention spans that people have, but it's just that's the way my old favorite bands did it. The Beatles always had songs that were 2.5, 3 minutes at the most, and that's a lot of my favorite hits growing up were all short and sweet, and I don't, and that nothing against Inagata Devita, Stairway to Heaven or whatever, all these super long songs. That's cool too, but I don't see Scour turning into a jam band anytime soon. And because I mean, physically, it's almost impossible. Our poor drummer back there, Like we can't tell them to blast for 10 minutes straight without a little break.
Yeah, I love Opeth, but sometimes I want to just really hit it hard. And,
Right.
especially like if I'm going to listen in the gym, this is like a great gym record. Just kill it. Or like a driving record.
Right. Yeah. And that's cool too, because it's like Pantera, that was what Pantera was to me back then. Like if I'm in the gym and I want to get pumped up, that's like the tough shit to listen to. Like I could almost picture Phil like pump that iron, you pussy, you know what I mean? But you're right. That's some nice extreme music does really get you motivated sometimes.
So the album released today, and I saw that y'all have one date booked at Milwaukee Metal Fest. With everything, you're in Nest, and the guys are in Misery Index, and Phil's doing the Pantera thing. Does that make it where it's like, I don't know if we're going to be able to tour this record? Is it just going to be like one-off dates like Milwaukee Metal Fest?
Yeah, the festivals right now make the most sense for us because, you know, like you said, everyone's so busy. Pantera is extremely busy this year. And so we were lucky when the offer came in to play that we could all make it work. And it almost didn't because some members had other shows that weekend. So we had to figure out, can we all come to Phil's a week beforehand, have a couple days of rehearsal, then you can go off with your other bands, do your shows. I'll be doing shows with Nest on the way up to the fest because we play the fest Friday and so does Down. So we'll all be there kind of all weekend. And then we finally play Sunday. But I'm pretty sure Pig Destroyer plays Dark Lord Day like the night before. So like that, luckily that's just in Chicago, right there. So it's like if the plane doesn't come, he could at least get an Uber to the show. He's not going to be in Europe. We're going
Just
to be
going to be
hoping that he's
dead tired.
yeah. It's going to be a tough weekend for him. I hope he takes it easy because Sunday night's going to be a ripper.
That's rock and roll, man. So hopefully there will be some sort of date in Atlanta at some point in time, but I realize this one's going to be especially difficult. Everybody's got their own bands that they're got schedules with. Does it also make it difficult to play like smaller club shows when you have to worry about, Phil?
Well, it's really not Phil that we got to worry about, honestly. It's the money it takes to get us all together to get to a club. Most club
Yeah,
owners
yeah.
don't realize that it costs us $5,000 just to get to your concert, man. So we would love to play your venue and sell it out for you and make a few grand for you, but it costs us a lot of money to make that happen. So we need that money from you.
Yeah.
And then when they realize how much it actually costs, some of them don't realize. Some of them just get upset and think we're greedy. You know what I mean? But for example, we're coming back from a festival and we got all of our gear. Now that's an example of we might want to play your city and we can make something work. But yeah, it's a shame when we got to say no to some places that are giving us, great offers that make sense to them, but they don't realize we're not rolling through your town with gear right now. We're all across the country in different bands and sometimes in different countries. Like Phil's in Europe right now. So if, Indianapolis, for example, guy wants us to play and it's like, we'd love to come play for you, but honestly, it's going to cost more than you realize and this
Mm.
is, I have sometimes have to explain, this is why we're not trying to rip you off. We have to fly all of our band members just to band practice. Then we got to get all of our stuff and come to you and rent a tour bus to get to you. So that costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And
it's Atlanta is great. And we'd love to come play Atlanta. I've played there. I love it. But yeah, it would take some kind of festival almost or us being on tour.
and you said you were in St. Louis. Everybody's not in St. Louis, right?
Well, Mark's in we all grew up in the St. Louis area except for Phil, but now I'm down in New Orleans. Mark's in the St. Louis area. He's still in Missouri. Derek's in San Diego, California,
Yes,
and then you got
that's a
Adam as
lot.
far away as possible over in Baltimore. So there's pros and cons to all this because it's like, hey, if we go to Baltimore, at least we got some people we know we can have set up a band practice. We got to play LA. Derek's got people over there. We can have band practice. We need to play up in Chicago. We could stop in St. Louis. We know people. So there's pros to it, but there's a lot of cons also. If you really want to get the band together, it costs money, man. It's just the way it's the way it is. Cost of doing business, they call it.
Yep. So I had Defeated Insanity on, and those guys are in different countries. One's in New York, one's in Germany, and I think the other one might be in California. I'm not sure about that, but you know, that's got to be super tough. But they're only doing the one band, so they can plan a tour, and go city to city, and it reduces the cost. But you guys being in all these different bands, not only are you in different cities, but then the tours might not be lining up.
Right. Yeah. It can become, confusing sometimes, but luckily we all stay in communication, and if we get an offer, we try to say, hey, first let's find out if Pantera's playing, which is pretty easy to do. Just Pantera.com, you get on the Pantera.com and you see if they got a show, and if they're playing with Metallica, then it's like, well, I can easily say, sorry, we can't do the show. So it usually starts with the big guy, and then you go and see if Misery Index is touring or Pig Destroyer, and you go down the line and you hope that it all just happens. But luckily this year there'll be a few more spots. Maybe we could jump in. We'll just have to see how, if Phil's feeling like doing it. He might come back from tour and be like, oh, I'm just not feeling good. I don't feel like it. But he might come back from tour and be like, I can't wait to get back out. Let's go back out. So, if he wants to do it, we're all ready. You know what I mean?
So I'll put the band's website in the description of this episode so that people can follow. And if y'all do book something, there it is. Follow along for announcements.
Right on. Thanks, man.
But in the meantime, the record is out, and I'm not just saying this because you're on. It is killer, absolutely killer. Scour Gold. Make sure y'all go get it. And thank you so much for spending some time with me.
Cheers. Thanks for having me, man.